Welcome to the Aligned Leader Podcast. Our guest today is Jeremy Lane. Jeremy is an innovative executive with more than 20 years of experience at TTI, a Berkshire Hathaway company, and specialist distributor within the technology space, specializing in organizational transformation, innovation, and operational excellence. As Vice President of Change Management and Strategic Transformation, he leads TTI's global business transformation team, aligning business objectives with governance frameworks and advanced analytics to optimize decision making. His robust experience includes leading enterprise talent development initiatives, as well as more than a decade managing inventory strategy and supplier relations across global operations. Jeremy also serves as an active board advisor across corporate, nonprofit, and higher education sectors, where he brings deep insight into ESG governance, succession strategy, and digital enablement. Welcome, Jeremy, and glad to have you on the podcast today.
I appreciate you having me, Nick. Good to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate that as well. You have spent 20 years at TTI. So tell me a little bit about that. That's an interesting story to me because we do not see that as often as we should anymore.
Yeah, I hear that myself quite a bit these days. Everybody's a little surprised when they see that tenure. I've spent my entire career at TTI and have never really stumbled across a good reason to do anything other than that. For me, as somebody who's motivated to learn and motivated by new challenges, I think the easy answer is that every time I've raised my hand and asked for a new challenge, a new way of looking at something, a new a new role in the business to maybe try to fix a problem or build something that wasn't there before, TTI has always said, yes, go for it. And so for me, not much more I could ask than that. And it's been an amazing 21 years now in my 21st year. And so I tell people, I think I've had 2 or 3 or 4 careers inside of that time at TTI, but all for the best. And it's been an amazing couple of decades.
Awesome. And how did you get started with TTI? What were you doing when you first started? Because like you said, you've had several careers within TTI. How did that all start?
I actually started on a sales desk, which was probably at the time the best place to start. I feel like it was a little bit trial by fire to get in front of customers early in your career and get yelled at a little and hung up on and all the things, But I spent about a year in sales, and over that time, so TTI is a distributor, as you mentioned, and so our sales team works very closely with our purchasing and inventory management, supplier relations part of the organization. It's a very kind of symbiotic relationship between those two. And I felt shortly into my tenure that I said, I feel like I can tell where the decisions are made in this company. And that was on the inventory and the purchasing side. And so I said, I want to get me over there as fast as possible. And thankfully there was a spot, moved over as a product buyer and just got started and spent the next 13 or so years in that department. Got to lead a lot of different teams, manage a lot of different products. And it was just phenomenal learning. I still miss that role. It was amazing. A few years, I got to do a lot of really cool work, and still they sit just outside of my office. And so I'm always trying to be nosy and figure out what's going on in the department. It was a great early part of my career for sure.
And now you're into change management, strategic innovation. Talk a little bit about that and what that looks like for TTI.
Yeah, as I came to the last couple of years in that operational role, I really got to pull a little bit out of the day-to-day business and focus mostly on developing the leaders on my team at the time. And through that, figured out that we had probably some progress that needed to be made in terms of just organizational training. And so kind of raised my hand, as I mentioned before, and and said, look, I think we've got work to do here. I think we've got some improvement to make. And they allowed me a shot at it. And so from that point, this was about 2017, I started to build out some training programs, and that over the next 5 or 6 years turned into what's now a full learning and development part of the organization. And I say all that just to lead up to your question, Nick, which I think the answer, partly anyway, would be I through all of that process, I ended up with this intersection of, let's call it the people stuff, right? The talent development and knowledge of the business, that all mixed together. You mash all that up, and thinking about organizational change and business transformation, it felt like a natural fit for me. And my current boss agreed that would be the right direction to go. So I really feel like that, it's a classic case of that experience leading you into the next thing. And that I feel strongly that that's what got me to where I'm at today.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've worn multiple hats. So you know about the sales organization, you know about talent development, you know about leader development, all those things. And it only makes sense that, hey, now you can guide the company into strategic change, into change management, those types of disciplines. That's pretty neat. One other thing that I caught my eye about your career is your board membership. Tell me a little bit about how you got on all these boards, and what does that do for your career? What does that do? How much time does that take for you to actually help those boards that you're a member of?
For me, again, I'm being motivated by learning, right? This is sort of the driver for me. And the only marginal downside of spending your entire career in one company, one industry, is to some degree a lack of exposure to other parts of the universe, right? So this has led me over the last several years to just start to think deeply about how to get myself exposed to other parts of business, education, nonprofit world, just to learn, which is really my main goal, without interrupting anything specific to my career at TTI. So it's kind of turned into that for me, and it's worked out really well. So I get to be involved with everything, discussions in the higher education world, discussions, internal committees and advisory spots specific to TTI, nonprofit work, all sorts of different things. And this has really helped I feel more rounded out as I get that additional exposure and that additional knowledge, in addition to the day job, as you might say. And so just kind of a personal desire to continue to broaden myself, and 100% honest, I think all of that I do get to carry back to my day job, and it makes me more effective, better leader, hopefully a better manager. Hopefully my team would agree with that. And just a more rounded, hopefully more knowledgeable employee for the company. So it really, to me, just there's a synergy across all of that you look at it on paper and you say there's a lot of different things going on here, but when you put that to work in a day-to-day life, it tends to work out really nicely, and it allows me to contribute, I think, at a higher level.
Awesome. And I bet you it's very enriching as well, being able to see different types of boards, see different types of organizations, and contribute there. And, I know that a lot of that is, non-paid, there are hours or things that you have to do, commitments that you make. And, it's like, hey, yeah, I do have a day job, but I also made a commitment to another organization, and I need to make sure that I see that through as well. So, good job with that. I mean, congratulations. That's something that, someday I'd like to join more boards than I'm on currently. But, I'm not sure that I'm ready to balance one more ball in the air.
Right.
Yet.
The only thing I would say, Nick, and of course, every role is different, right? But I think people that have a slight interest in looking into that type of thing would be surprised at how much impact you can have with, without making it a part-time job, for example. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to have impact and to contribute to different things without stretching yourself too thin. So I always tell people that ask about it, don't let that scare you. If you get in there and you look a little closer and it's more than you want to take on, makes perfect sense. But there's a lot of ways to make an impact with reasonable time investment, we'll say.
Nice. Okay. Great advice there. Let's turn a little bit to your company, TTI. Tell me a little bit about it. How many employees? How long? I know it's a Berkshire Hathaway company, but how long has it been in business? What's a neat fact about TTI that you'd like to share with us?
Man, there are plenty. So TTI is over 50 years old now, and was founded in 1971 by a man named Paul Andrews, who was our longtime CEO and, of course, the founder of the company. And Paul, unfortunately, passed away in 2021. And we're currently led by Mike Morton, who is a long time. I believe Mike was employee number 5, if my memory serves correctly. So absolute no. When Paul unexpectedly passed, absolute no-brainer that Mike would step in and continue that great legacy, and he's certainly done that. Man, what to say about TTI? So TTI is a distributor of electronic components. So easy illustration, if you took your cell phone and kind of opened it up and looked at all the little stuff in there, that's our business. We're distributing those components to the manufacturers that are making that finished good. And so we sit kind of in the middle of the supply chain between the component manufacturers, the ones making those components, and the manufacturers that are using those to make a finished good, whether it be your phone or the backup camera in your car or any other, digital electronic application, which these days is everything, as we know.
Yeah.
So really neat place to be. We get to have kind of a front row seat to all markets, right? So defense and aerospace, transportation, industrial, people shooting rockets up into the sky, everything you could possibly name. We're right at the forefront of that. So it's a really dynamic place to be. And TTI is a specialist distributor within our industry. And so we focus on a select group of components and suppliers that make those components. And our goal is to be the absolute preferred distributor for that group of suppliers and components. And that's exactly the first thing in our mission statement is exactly that. And so we're focused on being great at what we do, and it's contributed to a very successful multi-decade run for TTI. TTI these days is both an operating and a holding company. So we've got a portfolio of companies within what we call the family of specialists that are other types of distributors, other types of specialists in the industry, some more technical consultancy, engineering-based companies, and things around that of that nature. So TTI we're globally moving we've got about 9,000, a little over 9,000 employees. So
wow.
Large organization, and lots of good growth over these last several years. Again, as everything digitizes and becomes, electronic technology is not slowing down. And so the components that we distributed, that we play in, are powering and making intelligent those applications. And so we're, I think, in as good a place as you can possibly be in the economy today and what looks like is going to be the economy of the future.
Cool. And it sounds like you also are at the forefront of seeing these technologies, right? I mean, in 10 years and 20 years, what's everything going to look like based on what we have currently? And that's a
great question. I'm not sure we know what it's going to look like in 2 years, much less 20. Things are changing. Yeah, I think it's a bit cliche at this point to talk about the rate of change, but truly, in 3 years, I don't think we're going to be able to recognize much of what we look when we think about technology platforms and systems. And I mean, it's moving at a pretty crazy pace. So for us, we know that it's going to take more horsepower, technological horsepower to power those things, and so we feel great about what we're at. But we do, to your earlier point, we get kind of a front row seat to see the things that are being worked on, and some portion of those will become real things, and others the idea may not hit. But it's always nice to really interesting to see what's being worked on. And it's one thing I've learned over my career is that these sort of futuristic, space fiction, science fiction kind of things are always much closer than we really think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And which may be a little scary to some people, but it's an interesting space to watch.
Yeah, that's I agree. I mean, watching Star Trek in the 70s, some of the devices they had, well, we actually have those devices.
Right.
May not be using them the way they used them, but
Yeah.
it's like, wow, fiction is so much closer to reality than we may want to admit. It's kind of scary. And I love reading 1950s sci-fi about the 2000s, and they didn't quite get it right, but they got more right than you would believe. And that's a kind of a scary notion, but it's also, it's really neat to be there and see that new technology as it evolves, or as like you said, that didn't quite make it, and that's okay because something replaced it that was even better. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Not to get overly philosophical, but when I think about, there's a lot of things that people are nervous about, and rightly so. I mean, the world's changing fast, and there's always, there's always question marks around some of that. But I was listening to Mr. Buffett at the last Berkshire meeting talking about perspective and thinking about, would you hit the lottery by being born in this time, and you're alive in the best time to be alive when you look at everything as a whole. And I just tend to kind of default to that perspective to say there's plenty of stuff that you could grab onto and be nervous about or worry about, but I think we're alive at the most exciting time, and the next decade or two are going to be on the list with the internet, the industrial revolution, the railroad. I mean, those things like mile marker kind of changes. I think that's what we're moving into, and there's a lot of excitement in that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you named a couple of things that you're absolutely right. They revolutionized what we did. I mean, look at the railroad and how it changed America dramatically. Yeah. So you're right. When you think about those changes that are coming, they're not small little changes. These are massive step changes that will transform the way we do everything.
For sure. No question.
So that is kind of exciting. I mean, I grew up with the rotary phone and now it's like, I mean, I asked my grandchildren if they know what a typewriter is, and they're like,
yeah.
What?
I know.
Yeah.
I was explaining to my kids the other day about at my grandmother's house, rotary phone with the cord, and they're like, you had to stand, you couldn't move, you had to stand by the phone the whole time. Yeah. So we had about a 3-foot leash that pulled us back.
Yeah, that's
these things. It's we all kind of live in our own generation, and we know what we know. But it's an exciting time.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit. I mean, one of the areas that you worked in was talent development. Let's talk a little bit about that at TTI. Tell me a little bit about what's the, are you all having any issues with sourcing, retention, upskilling, leader development, training and learning development? What's the feel at TTI on the talent side?
I don't know that I would say that there are issues. The way we think about it, Nick. So first of all, just for context, and I actually still get to oversee the the learning organization for us here in the Americas, which is fantastic. Great team doing great work. For us, that team is in operations. It's in the business, as we say. And so, unlike some companies where it would reside, in human resources,
right?
But for talent purposes, in many of our programs, we partner very closely with HR, and specifically with the talent acquisition part of HR, which TTI has an incredible talent acquisition team. So the things that we're collectively thinking about, I think the top of the list, Nick, would be us being kind of an aging industry. A lot like, if you look at the data, I would say a lot like manufacturing, where you've got an aging workforce and a lot of deep knowledge and wisdom getting within striking distance of retirement, and the challenge of not only backfilling just from a headcount standpoint,
right,
but transferring that knowledge to the best of your ability, which, as we know, is one of those easy to say, very hard to do
right,
kind of things. So this is top of mind for us, and we've got a menu of programs that we've built over the years at TTI. I've been fortunate to be part of that along the way, where we're both going out of our way to develop current managers, leaders, employees, and starting in that bucket, really starting to think about what is upskilling and reskilling going to look like as we move into some of this technological change that we're just talking about. So that's one thing. And then simply making sure that we're pipelining talent into the organization to keep the bench in place, as we might say, as people retire out of the business and move into that next phase of life, making sure that we've got good, dynamic, talented people to step in. It's going to take them a while to get to that level of wisdom. We know that, but you can do a lot if you're ambitious and excited to go to work and get some things done. And we've, again, partnering with the talent acquisition team, we've found quite a few of those over the last several years. We bring them into our corporate headquarters. We spend between 4 and 6 months with very intensive training, and then we send them out to their departments or locations, and they go to work and start contributing, making an impact for TTI. So nobody has it all figured out, but we feel really good about what we've built and about the results of what we built. And so now we're really just thinking about, how do we get more out of that? How do we scale up? What are we going to need as we think about the next 3 to 5 years? So we think the blueprint is again, never final, but pretty darn good. So now it's just a matter of, how do we press the gas pedal a little bit and make sure that we're in good shape going forward.
And one of the things that you said was, aging workforce. Are you having problems with leaders, with trades, with a particular type of person coming into the company, or is it just overall, hey, we have more people exiting, they're taking a lot of knowledge with them, and it's a matter of, how do we regenerate that with bringing new folks in? And is there a problem with someone not wanting to come into TTI because of what you do? I mean, is there a deficit there as well from the talent aspect?
I don't know that. I don't think I would silo the aging industry thing into specific departments. I will say that we think a lot about it in terms of some of our bigger departments in terms of volumes of people, right? So you think about our sales organization, the customer facing piece of the business. That's a glaring one. You think about that inventory purchasing kind of supplier relations team that I mentioned earlier is another one. IT is another one. But these are not TTI issues. To me, these are industry and business at large. Lots of people thinking about this. Right. It's just it's where we are, right? And I don't think anybody did much wrong to get to where we are. It's just, this is where we are in the cycle, and we got to make sure that we're prepared for the next piece. And so, for us, the challenge is never trying to sell people on what we do. It's just a matter of having the conversation to begin with. Our industry is one that if you didn't know it existed, you don't know it exists.
Oh,
So you gotta take that extra step to get in front of these dynamic, college graduates, for example, and have conversation about, here's what we do. We're a distributor inside of this, or we're doing supply chain things within the technology arena. And when you push all that together, that's a pretty exciting and dynamic conversation. And 99 times out of 100, they say, okay, this sounds fun. Let's give it a go. And when I think about the last 5 years, we have found just incredible amount of young talent to bring into the organization many of them are doing high impact work for TTI. And so again, we feel good about that. And we don't see any of those challenges as things we can't overcome. It's just a matter of staying the course and maybe going a little faster if we can.
Awesome. And I'm assuming, based on everything that you've said, that, you guys value your talent quite a bit because, there are challenges. And like you said, it's not, I agree with you. I don't think it's a TTI problem. It's a global problem. I see that in some of the industries that I work with where, the STEM industry, we have more engineers exiting the market than are coming into the market, but the amount of engineering jobs has not decreased. It's increasing.
Right.
So, it's just something that, hey, it's an inventory. It's a supply chain problem, right? It's an inventory problem. Hey, I need 10 widgets. I have 5. Well, somewhere in the supply chain, I need to get 5 more widgets in so that I can fulfill this order. I see it as a very interesting dynamic. I know that the industry has changed. I've been a recruiter for the last 8.5, 9 years. I know that the challenge when I was a CEO of an engineering company, the challenges of finding engineers are not the same challenges that we see today. But you know what? It's not like there's not enough people out there. It's just a matter of, hey, how do we convince them to come into our industries, and more importantly, how do we convince them that we care for them and we take care of them so that they stay for 21 years like you have. That's to me it's like I see a lot of people that they spent a year here, they spent 6 months here, they spent 9 months there, and I'm like, okay, something's going on here. This person's not satisfied, or this person can't be satisfied. But then when you see someone with 20 plus years, it's like that's the kind of company that I want to work for. I want to be where they are because they're doing something right, and they're doing a lot of some things right. So that's
really
I
would agree, Nick. Our founder, and we still say it, is that as a distributor in our industry, the business is not easy, but let's call it simple, and it's people and parts. And for us, that guides a lot of what we do to this day, where we think about making sure that we have the best people in our industry. We believe that we do. The parts piece is the inventory, the actual product that we're selling, and making sure that we're doing all we can to have eliminate lead time for our customers is the goal, right? And make sure they have what they need when they need it.
Right.
And going forward, I haven't said this to anybody, and people at work may throw things at me, but I think we may add a third P going forward, and that's platforms. I really feel like going forward, a big piece of the effectiveness of our company and others is going to be what are those systems, what are those business systems that we're using, and getting the efficiencies and the power out of those. So that's something that we're thinking a lot about. But at the end of the day, we're a people business, just like all businesses are. So we're focused on that. And I would add, thankfully, all the way up to our CEO and all of our senior leadership have that same commitment. And so that removes a lot of the obstacles when everybody's bought into saying, let's just keep finding the smartest people that we can and we'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's that helps a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more that, hey, if you find the right people and you take good care of them, they'll take care of you.
Yeah,
That's, and like you said, there aren't too many businesses out there that don't need human interaction in order to succeed.
right,
So, taking care of people, the amount of time you spend at work versus with your family, your work family is almost as important as your real family because you spend so much time with them.
right,
Why do you want to spend time with people that you don't like or don't like you? I wouldn't
right.
want to.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, Jeremy, I'd like to give you a chance to give us some parting thoughts, and then we'll conclude this podcast.
I, you know what, I would just say, Nick, I think we're, first of all, thank you for having me. I think we're headed into really exciting times, and I'm personally excited to be doing that from my seat at TTI. I think it's a great place to be, and I'm thankful for my career, thankful for my coworkers, and all the people that have supported me over the years. And so it's hard to find much to complain about, frankly, when I think about my last 20 years, and here's to the next 20.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, Jeremy. For those of you watching this podcast, I hope you receive some great pearls of wisdom, and I hope you'll join me for my next podcast coming soon. Remember, aligned leaders are a superpower in great companies, strengthening the bonds of the company's strategic goals with better informed and better led employee base. Thank you.